to tell us more about these numbers, we have OCTA Research Fellow Dr. Guido David joining us today. Good morning, Prof. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, good morning, Jago and Angela, and sa mga viewers and listeners
Wait,
natin.
before we ask you your first question, I'd like to lay in context. Ano ba yung...
Yun nga din eh.
Rini-refute kasi ito ni Secretary Gadon at sinasabi niya, pag ini-interview nito sa survey, pakiramdam ng isang tao, wala lang akong iPhone, poor na ako eh. So yan ang sinabi.
Paano ba yung questioning?
Oo, yung mode of questioning.
Well, that's a very valid point. And of course, ano naman to this is, again, self-assessment yung ginawa natin. And, you know, it's different from, kunyari, yung Philippine Statistics Authority, which classifies poverty according to income, which is fair naman. Pero yung ginagawa natin, since we're just serving a sample of the population, ang tinatanong natin if sa perception nila, parang self-assessment nga, if sa tingin nila poor sila. And yes, you could argue that na baka may mga nagsasabing ganon, but I think medyo mas realistic naman din naman yung assessment ng mga natin, ng mga kababayan natin. And just to go over yung difference na kunyari sa PSA data. I mean, if it's purely income-based, then siguro sasabihin natin lahat ng ABC ay hindi poor. Pero sa self-rated poverty natin, there's 11% sa socio-economic class ABC who say they're poor. And that's fair naman. Baka naman tingin nila kahit na they have a sufficient income compared to other groups, baka marami silang sinusuportahan, maraming binabayaran. I don't think naman na kung wala silang iPhone, ay poor na sila. Pero on the other hand naman, on the flip side, sa socio-economic class E, for example, na lowest socio-economic class, ay may 2% na nagsasabing they're not poor. So, again, baka kunyari single sila, wala silang sinusuportahan, walang dependents, and they feel na nakakain naman sila. I think that's a fair assessment. So, yun nga, the question is, so tinanong natin if they consider themselves poor or not.
Okay. So, pero kasi nakikita pa rin natin, no, actually, yung pinopoint out ni Secretary on Poverty Alleviation na survey ay dun sa SWS, no? Pero sa inyo, dito sa OCTA, the same din halos na nakikita natin na remains yung poverty or yung hunger issue sa Mindanao and Visayas.
Remains high.
Oo, remains high. So,
right.
I was wondering, ano yung nakikita natin factors that contribute to higher poverty rates pa rin sa Visayas and Mindanao?
And that's a very good point, Angela and Diego, na yun nga, although the actual numbers, we may have differing opinions sa actual numbers compared to other surveys or sa PSA. Yung relative numbers, yun yung mahalagang tingnan natin. And why is it higher sa Visayas and Mindanao? Of course, sa survey, we don't flesh out kung ano yung specifics kung bakit nila nasabi to. Pero one clue is dahil dalawang tinan natin, self-rated poverty tsaka yung food poverty.
Yun,
And those are highly correlated. Ibig sabihin, when they say parang they consider themselves poor, usually correlated din with them considering themselves food
poverty.
poor. Yung food poverty. And yung food poverty refers to situations where individuals and households struggle to secure a sufficient and healthy diet. So kung magkakasama na nito yung involuntary hunger, or kung nakakain man sila, baka hindi kompleto, baka baka mga instant yung mga instant food lang na hindi gano'n ka healthy, na okay lang pagsamantala but not very healthy. Pero regarding the question, I think and it continues to remain na NCR has the lowest incidence of poverty, 23%, followed by Balance Luzon, 37%, and highest nga siya sa Mindanao, 63%. To be fair, bumaba na siya actually. It was yung 63% na yan, I mean, there was a time na nasa around 70% sa Mindanao.
So may
it was really
improvement
high.
na.
So I think they have a lot of challenges sa Mindanao. can't say about yung
Yeah.
weather situation doon.
Weather.
Yeah, but I think yung mga well, controlled na more or less yung mga insurgents dun. But I think the presence of insurgents
Yeah.
before medyo affected yung economy nila, and some
Employment,
of these
di ba?
other factors. Sa Visayas din, syempre may mga areas na sometimes affected by
Yeah,
storms,
calamities or
by
storm.
yun nga,
Alright.
Prof, I'd like to ask
droughts, yes.
about yung relation between yung food poverty and overall poverty. No? Does it follow that a majority of those who consider themselves poor in general, a lot of them come from those who think they are also within the food poverty sphere?
Yes, I think so. That's the correlation that we're seeing because poverty is at 45% and food poverty is at
43.
43%. So magkalapit lang yung numbers actually. More or less, I think yun yung tinitingnan din ng mga kababayan natin. Kung hindi sila makakain ng sapat, then they consider themselves food poor, and ergo they also consider themselves poor.
So in essence,
yes.
So in essence, Prof, if I were in the government, I'd like to improve itong the way people perceive themselves as poor, then I'd first address the problem of food security.
Of course, yes. And although, to be fair, the president has kept his promise na to lower the price of yung bigas. It's now they can purchase it at 20 pesos. Pero syempre, marami pa tayong ibang challenges. The president also mentioned yung zero balancing sa DOH accredited hospitals for patients. So those will help kasi yung health expenses is isa sa mga major expenses natin aside from education. Pero food security should be addressed. Prices of goods, maybe more assistance sa mga natin, sa mga farmers natin, sa agricultural sector natin, and I have high hopes that our senator who will be handling that sa agriculture will be able to help in this regard. So and yung to be fair, yung inflation natin has already stabilized. Pero of course, tumaas siya ng malaki nung the past few years because of the wars in other countries. So we're still trying to keep up with the inflation. So although nag-stabilize na siya, syempre marami pa rin sa mga kababayan natin yung nakakaranas ng hindi pa nagtutugma yung natin. Yung
Still a lot of work.
kinikita.
Yes. Totoo yan. Kasi
Still a lot of
dami
work.
nagtatanong, gumanda daw yung GDP. Pero ang dami
Takes
pa rin,
time. We all know that.
dami pa rin nagugutom.
Economists will know it takes time. But so much to talk about, so little time. But we hope to have you back again. Thank you, OCTA Research Fellow, Dr. Guido David, for joining us once again.
Thank you and good morning.